Yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Hello, wonderful people. Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel. And it is time for the fourth video of Yearly Favourites Week 2024 as I give you my top 15 albums in bass music from last year. One album or LP per artist on this list. That is how we always do with these lists for variety's sake. We like to keep it spicy, we like to keep it fresh. Even though I'm pretty sure there wasn't an artist that dropped 2 albums last year, but I could be wrong about that, do let me know. But yeah, in this particular video, going upwards from 15 to number 1 with 15 more honourable mentions coming just beforehand, which were also very good to be fair, but didn't quite make the main list. And before I get going, please do like the video, please do subscribe. We've got one more video coming after this one in this series. Please do check out the other ones that have come out already. They're good lists, loads of music to check out there as well for sure. And before we properly get going here, do not forget to drop your favourite albums of last year in bass music in the comments section down below. Whether it's a top 1, a top 5, a top 15 like I'm doing, whatever it is, please do drop them down below. The discussion is the best bit as always. But yeah, here we go. The honourable mentions for the best albums in bass music. There were many good albums last year, so this is going to be a treat, this one in particular. Looking forward to showing all of you this list. But yeah, honourable mentions in alphabetical order by way of artist name. First off, I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, the honourable mentions are done. You definitely will have seen a couple in there, I think, that you've heard already, but the ones you haven't, definitely do recommend you check those out as well. As I was saying earlier, it's just been a mad year. Well, it was a mad year last year for albums in bass music. But on that note, the main list right now, and kicking off with number 15, we have Girls Who Are Wizards by Violet Pony. This album is absolutely wild to the point of being quite difficult to keep up with in parts here and there, but that's the appeal, that is the point of it. And if you're willing to just kind of dive in and fully commit with running through this album from start to finish, it delivers a lot of good. And if I was to tell you Brostep and Complextro and all the hybrid styles within that, and then you just look at the artwork right here, then yeah, whatever you're imagining right now, that's exactly what you get. Then at number 14, we have Mechanomorphic by Mr. Bill, which, I have to be honest, I think this LP is quite bloated and a lot of it does bring the same kind of energy. But I also can't deny that there's a lot of good material within this collection right here. The production on this LP, pretty much from start to finish, is amazing. The colour of it, the sharpness of it, really does keep you locked in on that front across the whole thing. And the collaborative aspect of it as well is also very good. I mean, Mr. Bill's always been very good at that, bringing in different producers into his sound. But this LP shows that especially, and I love it for that. And yeah, like I said, a lot of good here. At number 13, we have Sharks with Iridescent Tears. This is maybe more of a compilation vibe than an outright album vibe per se, but still a body of work from one artist, and quite the parting gift actually, of course being a project, or the project, that Sharks released with the announcement also that he was stepping back from making music. And it's got a lot of great material on it, genuinely him in full flow, like proper full flow Sharks, for quite a few cuts here, and with good bits of experimentation, trying out different genres as well for this farewell project, if you will. Yeah, the scene is really missing him, for sure. At number 12, we have Refraction by MPH. Really wanted to hear a whole album of his sound, and very grateful that we got it last year. And yeah, just unsurprisingly energetic for an LP from him. Loads of colour, loads of summery sound usage, a lot of punch in the production. I'd have to say, for me anyway, I don't think we get any of his very best cuts on this project, but again, really nice hearing his sound over the course of a whole LP. a whole album, this many tracks in one collection. And yeah, his aesthetic, it's just got a lot of life to it. And he showed that very much with this album. Coming in at number 11, we have Forever by ISO XO, and Knock 2, a fantastic duo, partnership, whatever you want to call it. But this is one that I think you might be like, well, Connor, don't know if it is an album, only 8 tracks, but an album is what they called it. That's what we're going by. And also, I think given its collaborative nature between the two of them, I think that does give it more album credit, more album stature, if you will. There is some sensational material on this collection of music, really showcasing their sounds both individually and as a mesh, a blend, a kind of concoction. Many different genres and moods that are being tied together here in terms of the 8 cuts that we get into the one project. I mean, yeah, if there were more tracks here, then I feel like it would definitely be higher. But that's okay. I think it works well being placed where it's being placed here in this list. And that kind of collection, I think we will get from them in the future at some point. But still, Forever, bloody good. Okay, breaking into the top 10 and coming in at number 10, we have Wings and Fangs by Beast Boy, which I'd have to say is an absolute treasure trove for fans of future rhythm and all the kind of hybrid styles that might split off from that, because he does try out quite a lot in this LP, on this LP, in terms of, you know, experimenting with different styles, which is great, just showing us different sides to his aesthetic, his design, etc. The whole disc 1, disc 2 separation with the LP is pretty cool, and a nice way, a quite unique way also of kind of dividing the album up and having it, you know, kind of constitute as different moods, if you will, for the LP. And there are a lot of great tracks here, I would have to say, on show as well. So yeah, good album, sophomore album coming up very soon, and I'm looking forward to that a lot if it's going to be anything like this. After that, at number 9, we have What Is Life by Anti-Up. Chris Lake and Chris Lorenzo cooking up a real house storm with this collection of music. This is some of the best house music that we got in the whole of last year. It's also got a kind of Brit-pop attitude to it, which is quite cool. I like that about it a lot. Fantastic start as well with the opening 3 or 4 that we get here. That always helps. And yeah, there's just a lot of really catchy music across this LP, across this collection. I mean, yeah, just 2 absolute pros working together really well. What else would you expect? Moving on from there, at number 8, we have Into the Unknown by Nero. Has to be said. It does just have to be said. This is a far cry from their first 2 albums, it really is. But this one right here, it also has to be said for their 3rd album, this album. There is a lot of very, very, very good songwriting on show. There just is. You can't escape that. Both with the vocals and the instrumentals. Their whole approach and the whole way of executing it with that kind of quality, again, in the songwriting, is just unique in bass music. And I mean, again, far from their best, nowhere near their best, but that's their standard, right? They can still, even given that, put out a top 10 album in my eyes, easily. So yeah, far from their first 2 albums, I think, but still very easily a top 10. At number 7, we have Every Day by Face, which really did, I mean, the diversity of this one really did take me aback, really did surprise me the more I went back to it. Really just showing the multi-dimensional appeal of his sound, of his approach, of his design, all that good stuff. So well made, a really textured feel to each and every cut that we get here. And yeah, it just gave me a deeper appreciation for his production, how he puts tracks together every time I ran through this LP. Maybe more than anything else, the highest compliment I can pay it, it just sounds like he had a lot of fun putting it together. The amount of experimentation we get here, the trying out of different styles and putting them all into one collection. Yeah, Every Day by Face, it's fucking sick. At number 6, we have, for me, for sure, the best drum and bass LP of the year of 2024. From Dust to Dawn by The Clamps. There are many albums that go for this intricate, feathery, but also grungy drum and bass kind of approach. But many of them, I think most of them actually, don't really have that many good individual tracks within those collections of music. But this one right here really has that. Faith, or Les Autres, or Veil Whisper, or Dummies, or Stories Left Untold. I mean, there are a lot of good tracks here, many, many good tracks, and I can keep going as well, by the way. This LP, a lot of heat, it's quite thrilling, captivating, scintillating overall as a listen from start to finish, and I imagine quite a few of you haven't actually heard it, so if that's the case for you, do go and check it out because it fucking slaps. Next up, rolling in after that at number 5, we have the third album in 4 years from this artist, which is quite unprecedented, I think. Maybe completely unprecedented for modern dubstep music at that kind of level. It is, of course, Must Die with Vampire Weapon Midnight. Yeah, this LP, it doesn't quite have the album feel per se of those in front of it that we're about to talk about in this list. But there's still so much good fucking material on this collection of music. Really effective drop ideas across different kinds of bass and very tight-knit production, very infectious and catchy vocal samples across the board. Also, colossal melodies, can't go on without saying that. And this LP just kind of expertly showing and showcasing where he is at the moment and what he is doing at the moment best. You know, just mastering dubstep, but also mastering hardcore, hardstyle, and gabba, and techno, and types of house as well. And you just get the feeling also that he's going to keep going. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's a machine at the moment, probably the most consistent artist that there is right now in terms of the amount he's putting out at a certain quality, at a certain level. Yeah, Must Die, a legend, and can't wait for more. And after that, at number 4, we have one of the most ambitious LPs of last year in bass music. By way of sheer variety, this artist right here just putting their sound, putting their aesthetic into loads, and I mean loads, of different bass genres, different bass styles, if you will. It's Diatic with the third kind. You got the classic Diatic alien flow dubstep, you got bass house, you got drum and bass, you got techno, you got baile funk, you got trap, you got glitch hop, you got halftime. I mean, genuinely, any major bass style that you can think of, he does it right here on this LP. Whilst also, by the way, being a bit of a concept album with all of the vocal input that we get here, all the alien transmission, radio, newsflash kind of things. I mean, the world building, the story building here is fantastic. And then all executed with that classically typical seismic, diatic kind of feel. With all of this going on, I mean, yeah, it's a lot. But in a good way, you know, there's so much breadth here, so much scope. And before this came out, for quite a while, I was just like, yeah, I want to hear more experimentation from him. I want to hear his style in loads of different, you know, genres in bass music. I want to see him be ambitious on that front, and he definitely did that with this collection. It's a very good debut. I think we're going to get a more refined album, another album from him in the future maybe, if he's up for tackling that. But yeah, again, as a debut, this is very good. Now guys, just before we get into the top 3 here, I do just have to mention that it was very, very tough to choose between these 3. I could vie for each one for number 1. They're pretty interchangeable. They're all really good in completely different ways, and, you know, it could easily change again, my views on what the top 3 is. I'm not going to change it tomorrow. This is definitively what I'm going to say right now, what I think right now, but who knows? In a month, in half a year from now, my view could be different. But just so you know, these 3 are fucking good. It's splitting hairs. It's difficult to choose between them. But here we go, the top 3. And so first up, coming in at number 3, in third spot, he also had the EP of the year. So, you know, even being in the top 3 here for the album of the year as well is incredibly impressive. It is Eliminate with Get Off the Internet. Yeah, this is what a debut Eliminate album was always going to be. Vintage Eliminate sound in many different bass-driven, bass-oriented genres and styles. Fantastically varied, both with the style and the mood across the whole thing. You know, he gets that perfect mix, I think, between high-octane, energetic, really full-on, but then also quite somber, quite reflective at points when he needs to be. Extremely engaging, extremely entertaining as well, and well-crafted in terms of a kind of track-on-track experience. Like, there's a lot of awareness here from Eliminate in terms of how to make an album, how to make sure that these tracks kind of operate alongside one another. Very pop-friendly, very accessible, very catchy, infectious, that kind of thing, which I think owes a lot to the vocals we get here, which across the board are fantastic, whether original vocal features or samples or whatever. And the production, almost all of it, extremely clean, this perfect kind of punch to it. The unfortunate thing for him being, I think, that he's a victim of his own success in a way. I talked about it, I mentioned it earlier just now, and you'll know also, of course, if you watch my EPs of the Year video, but he did get the EP of the Year as well. And there are times, well, actually, there are a couple of cuts where I hear those VIPs and I'm just like, I kind of like these more than the originals now, I have to say. And so when I hear the originals, I'm just like, damn, I'd rather kind of hear the VIP if I'm being completely honest. So that does take a little bit away from it and does explain a little bit why it's in the third spot. But again, that is a sign of his standard, right? I mean, to get the top EP and a top 3 LP is extremely commendable. And it says a lot as well for how good this LP is overall. So yeah, Get Off the Internet, fantastic debut. Eliminate's great, and I love this album for so many reasons. What else can I say? Okay, at number 2. At number 2, this album has the most timeless energy about it. It feels the most raw project of music in bass that I heard last year. EPs, albums, compilations, whatever. And it's an album that does a very good job of transporting you to another world and really keeping you locked in there for the whole thing, for its entirety. Like, I can feel this album on my skin. I really do think there hasn't been an album for a long time, a debut anyway, that is this good. Like a debut album within the dubstep scene especially, that is this good. People are going to have a problem with this and me putting it here, but this is what I feel. And again, it's a thing of splitting hairs at this point. But number 2 for me, Sizzy with The Weight of the World. This album has an aura about it that just has to be acknowledged and has to be talked about. I mean, the way that this album brings you further and further in as it goes on, the way that everything is paced out here, the way that each section is built, the way that atmosphere is generated across the entire project, the way that it gets you just deeply breathing in absolutely everything that it has to offer is just insane. Like, again, I don't think we've heard something like this for quite a long time. In today's scene, having a project that is 10 tracks long, running at nearly 50 minutes in runtime, is pretty wild and practically unheard of. And basically what I'm trying to say here is that through this LP, in a world where there's kind of a constant need for instant gratification, you can really hear the respect for the craft for making the music through this album. And the confidence from Sizzy in doing that alone makes this album incredible. Melodically, this is maybe the best bass album of the decade so far. Musicality that kind of gets in your head and latches onto your mind and sticks there forever. I mean, again, the kind of timeless factor with this LP is huge. With also some of the best drop material from the whole of last year in bass music. I mean, that first couple of minutes from Dope 1, just to give one example, might be the best section of dubstep that we've heard this decade as well. I'm just going to say it, I'm just going to put it out there. It is insane, and the best ode or tribute that we've got, I think, yeah, in this decade so far to the 2010s, and that is no small thing. The cross-referencing that we get between tracks, the way that, again, it kind of comes into its own more and more as it goes on, just so much good to it, so many special moments, and yeah, it's an album that for me is generational in a lot of ways. So The Weight of the World, what an LP, and just can't wait to see what Sizzy has lined up next following this colossal collection of music. But coming in at number 1, my number 1 album of 2024 in bass music. I listened, then I listened again, I listened again, I listened again and again and again and again, many times. And this is, I think, the most complete feeling album for me of 2024. It's pretty mad actually the extent to which this album grew on me. From the first listen that I did, which is up on the channel and available, go and watch it if you haven't yet, just to kind of contextualize my thoughts here that I'm about to give you. But yeah, mad the amount this grew on me, and the vast majority of this LP is just an absolute exhibition in songwriting and album crafting. Yeah, it's a real feat. It's Stealing Fire by Virtual Riot. You know, it's quite something for 16 tracks to each be distinctly memorable, to all have defining features, to all offer something significant. And each time I went back to this album, I realised that, yeah, that is the case for this collection of music. Granted, there are tracks on this LP, especially in the middle, that aren't amazing, that aren't quite as good comparatively with others on the album, but they still strike a chord in some way. And again, going back to it more and more, I just realised, yeah, that's his standard, and I'm very glad that he showed that on this LP. Really glad also that he did the thing in itself of following up on Simulation, his debut LP, because this one right here, absolutely clear Simulation in my opinion. The opening to this LP with the first kind of 4 or 5 cuts that we get here is sensational, and in my opinion ranks it alongside the likes of Quest for Fire, Skrillex's 2023 album in terms of best openings to bass albums of all time. And I'd have to say as well on that front, on that note, that the opening that we get here does kind of separate it out from those behind it in the list that I've talked about already. Like, it's such a blistering start. The ending couplet also that we get here, very difficult to get right, but does it really well, executes it so well within the context of the LP. That also, in my opinion, separates it out from the others I've talked about here already. And that's even before I get to the whole concept of this LP, which is the refashioning and the constant use, the consistent use of classic electronic vocal samples from decades past and recent times as well, the stealing of fire, so to speak, which is why this album is titled in that way. And you know, some people might say it takes a little bit of individuality away from the LP, a little bit of originality away from it as well, but for me, the cleverness with which it's all constructed in that way, how he fits those samples into their respective tunes, it's just so impressive. Masterful levels of creativity, mad levels of ambition, absolutely thrilling for large parts of it, and a real journey, I would say, as a front to back listen. So yeah, the more I went back to it, the more I revisited this album, I just couldn't help but think, yeah, this is the one. This is the one for 2024. Stealing Fire, Virtual Riot. But there we have it, guys. My God, I'm exhausted. That was a long filming job, it really was. That was tough. But yeah, there it is, my top bass albums of 2024. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. But now, let's get to the good bit, the discussion in the comments. Let me know what you made of my list, but also let me know what your list is. Your favourite album, your top 5 albums, 10 albums, 15 albums like I did. Whatever it is, please do drop them in the comment section down below. Again, let's get the discussion going. Please do like this video if you enjoyed it, and please do subscribe to the channel if you like electronic music, bass music, the discussion, the reviews, the reactions, all that good stuff. It's all available on this channel, and do hit the notification bell along the way so you can be notified whenever I drop a new video, especially the next one, the final one of this series, which is my top 50, yes, 50 bass singles of 2024. You're going to want to tune in for that one. So again, do like the video, do subscribe, and do press that bell whilst you're at it. Do press that bell, do hit that bell, do click on that bell. My mind is so feckin' fried by now, honestly. But yes, again, hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching. The final one is almost here, and then we can get back to normality on this channel, which I've been looking forward to for a very long time. But yes, see you in that top 50 singles video, and keep it naughty until then. Peace.